So in a shocking turn of events, Love Island USA blew up this summer. And as your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber, I had to cover it. Hey, I can say that the potato lady watches my Love is Blind video. Shout out to the potato lady, and she's famous, so I've made it. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Selene. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. If you've been on my channel before, you're probably shocked, gooped, gagged that I watched a Villa show. And you're gonna be even more gooped and gagged that I enjoyed it a lot. This is like really shocking for me. I've said it a million times on this channel that I don't like Villa shows. I went in depth on that in my couple to throuple video recently. Y'all are always asking me to cover Perfect Match, and I skirt around doing it. I watched like one season of Bachelor in Paradise, did not have the best time. I watched the first season of Too Hot to Handle, I couldn't even finish it. Love Island UK, even though it's super popular, I never really gave it a shot because I figured if I didn't enjoy these other shows, I was not gonna enjoy Love Island UK or US or whatever. But I did recently fall in love with Vanderpump Rules, and for the latest season of Love Island USA, Ariana Madix is the new host, and she's from Vanderpump Rules. She's literally my favorite person on that cast. I finally was bored one day and I was like, let me just start this. Let me just see how it is, and it'll be a good introduction to me on Love Island, see if I even like it. I was thinking if I didn't enjoy it, at least Ariana would be there and I would have a little bit of a good time. But soon after I started watching like the first few episodes, it blew up on social media. I was about to abandon it after like 3 episodes because I just simply got overwhelmed by the amount of episodes. I think when I started the show, it had like already 13 or 14 episodes, and they're all like an hour long or over an hour. I'm pretty good at commitment, but this is a lot to ask for. But when I started seeing buzz online, I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna keep watching and see if it's worthwhile. Everyone was saying for the very first time that USA was better than the UK version, which is also happening right now. And this is already Love Island's 6th season in the US. So the first 5 seasons people always shit on or they don't watch it, and it makes sense. I mean, the UK Love Island is the original franchise, and I feel like usually the original of anything, of any show, is the best one, and then the spin-offs can vary in quality. It seems like Love Island USA is hitting its stride, and this new host shakeup was a great idea to get more people on board, and it just made for a perfect storm. I think a lot of people came for Ariana and then stayed for the drama because it got juicy. So when I realized I was really gonna commit to this, I had to kick my binging into high gear, because what I didn't realize about Love Island is that there's a fucking new episode every day, except hump day, as they say. Every single day almost there's an episode, and I was trying to binge and the goalpost just kept moving on me at lightning speed. I'm not used to this with reality TV. So I've binged like 3 days straight, nothing but Love Island every waking moment, and I finally, towards the last week of the show airing, I caught up to watch the final week live. It's not ideal. I wish I had watched it live the whole time because it would have been a lot less overwhelming. It would have been more fun in real time to react with social media, but at least I made it for the final week, and I got to even participate in some votes. Because yeah, Love Island has voting and audience participation. I never in my life watched an episode of Love Island, so bear with me. I was discovering a lot about the show just watching it. I didn't do any research or anything beforehand. So my first thoughts watching the show, first of all, is this the same ocean that all the survivors are pooping in? Probably like 2 beaches away. Survivor films in Fiji, and I was like, I wonder if like the Survivor contestants are just fighting for their lives like a few feet away. And then probably my second thought when I started watching this was, I can't believe this is the show Burgalicious came from Traitors season 2. I can't picture Bergie in this environment like at all. I can't picture him like doing these very erotic makeout challenges or being shirtless 24/7. So Love Island reminded me way more of Big Brother than I was expecting initially. First of all, how isolated it is and how the cameras, it's kind of like surveillance style, like the cameras are watching them at all times in this very controlled villa. And the biggest similarity to me was how Love Island is happening in real time. And this was a total game changer for me for this type of villa show. And I think it might be part of why I got hooked. As you're watching the show as a viewer, the contestants are in there. And like, I think they went in before Brat came out, so apparently the contestants don't even know about Brat. Ariana confirmed this on Instagram, and I was devastated. It's not fair to deprive them of Brat. Love Island also has this audience participation element where audiences vote at certain times, and you get to decide like what couples are in the bottom or in danger of going home or getting dumped from the villa is how they call it. And the audience gets to have a say. I think the audiences of other dating shows would kill for that type of ability. It's really cool to just have like a little hand in what's going on in the villa. And big shout out to the editors and producers on this show. I don't think I want to know details about the working conditions on Love Island because I doubt they're any good. Shout out to the editors, producers, and their families that are probably not seeing much of them while the season's going on. Hopefully they have like a lot of time off between seasons or something, but those editors and producers are making an episode every day and in real time, so like they have like a day turnaround. It's insane. And like the audio mixing on the show is amazing, and like it's edited like any other reality show, so it's kind of like, and you have to keep track of all these storylines. Like if something happens with one couple, you got to get a reaction from this person who had a previous relationship with that. Like there's a lot to keep track of, and I do not know how they're doing it at such a fast turnaround speed. So let me go in depth on like why I got hooked on Love Island, because I think some things are Love Island specific and some things are probably this season specific. This was very surprising to me, and it made me realize there's more nuance to the villa format of a dating show and that it can be very entertaining and interesting. Okay, the first thing seems so minimal, but Love Island apparently uses real songs. And this is something I didn't know. I'm used to the Love is Blind stock music where it's just narrating the scene and the lyrics that is really corny and cheesy. I didn't know how good music could play into a reality show and like help elevate everything that's happening. I'll link below the Spotify playlist of this Love Island USA season, but I underestimated how much like playing a little Charlie XCX, playing a little Chappell Roan, playing a little espresso, how all of that would really affect me and make me fall in love with the show. It really, really hits different. Like when they do a sexy dancing challenge and they're able to dance to Body by Megan Thee Stallion, or a big breakup or fight happens and they play We Can't Be Friends, or a girl finds out her boy cheated on her and they play What Was I Made For? Which that one I was kind of mad about because that song is sacred, and to waste it on a fuckboy that everyone saw a mile away that he would cheat was a choice. But anyway, they were using like high caliber songs. They even played Please 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 like a week after it came out. I was like, the contestants haven't even heard the song yet, and it's here. The needle drops really change things for me, and like I never would have thought that would have made a difference, but like it literally did. I think what really helped me get immersed into this season was reframing it in my head as like a simulation or a social experiment, and being invested in just how people react when put in this like really controlled, really curated environment where human mating rituals have been replicated and bottled up and just like hyper compressed into this tiny window of time. Just seeing how that brings out heightened emotions and strong connections. It's like all like artificially created, but trying to tap into real emotions from people. It's wild. And I'm just kind of like, duh, that's what reality TV has always been. But like this one is so curated that it was enough to make me interested eventually. And focusing on the simulation itself and the experiment rather than thinking about like, are they going to make it in the outside world? Is there hope? Like, am I invested in this couple for the long run? Like, the present was so entertaining that the future stuff went out the window for me, and I didn't focus on that anymore. I felt like I was a scientist watching lab rats, or I was 10 years old playing with Barbies, or I was playing The Sims, and every episode was like, let me see what my Sims are up to. It also kind of reminded me of the show Severance, which if you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor and watch it. Season 2 is coming out in January. Love Island reminded me of Severance in a way. It felt like it was any personas of real people inside the villa and not like full humans in the villa, because they stripped them so much of like their family support system, their environment, their city, their job. They're stripped from everything from their personal lives aside from like the person themselves and put into this weird artificial environment. It's super weird, but it kind of reminded me of like the employees in the company that are on the inside, almost like regressing people to like childhood, or like, because in childhood I feel like is where we have more controlled environments, like school mostly kind of curated for us and with people like our peers all there. I do feel like there's a part of Love Island that like regresses people and makes them a little more immature. Like for some people, maybe not for everybody. It gets kind of dark if you think about it too much, and that's kind of the case for all reality TV, so let's not go there, but you know, it's interesting to think about. And I think just the element of the show happening in real time was the key ingredient for loving it, aside from thinking of it as a simulation. It happening in real time really had me immersed, because for all other villa shows I've watched, you could probably look up people's social media and see if they're currently together. But in Love Island, it's like the stuff happened yesterday, so we as the audience are on the same journey as the contestants, the Islanders, and that is priceless. I think that's huge for making me feel like just immersed in the now, because it is the now. So let me talk about Love Island if you're new to it like me or not. It was just interesting to see a new show that I'd never experienced that's very established and has like its tropes and its like staple things, and I was just figuring it out as I went. Love Island is about 5 women and 5 men get put into this isolated villa where the goal is to find love. They participate in challenges and occasionally they get dumped from the villa, so they're not necessarily there for the whole tenure of the season. Periodically, bombshells are introduced, which are just new bodies into the villa, and they seem to be just kind of at random, like a production tool for testing relationships, or if someone hasn't found a connection, maybe the new bombshells can provide that. So there is like turnover, and it's kind of random when it happens. And this goes on until people get coupled up more formally and make it to the finale, where one couple wins best couple to couple on Love Island, and they win a cash prize. So it is like a competition randomly, even though that's not very emphasized at all like throughout the season. I kept forgetting that, and then now I'm right before the finale and I'm like, oh, I guess someone's gonna win. Oh my god, okay. Also, Love Island is pretty campy. There's a comedian that narrates, kind of similar to The Circle. I imagine The Circle got inspired by Love Island, since Love Island is pretty established. But yeah, a comedian narrates a lot of the action and pokes fun at it, and it helps to have a little levity to these like very dramatic, melodramatic moments. There's also like periodically, every few episodes, I guess every Saturday, the new episode isn't like a real new episode. It's more like a commentary panel where like Ariana, the host, comes in, and past Love Islanders, and is hosted by like the host of the UK one, or like a former contestant. Sorry, I don't know Maura Higgins that well, but she's very lovely. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about like the physical intimacy on Love Island, because I previously had heard of it described as very wholesome, which I was kind of like, how? And I'm still kind of like, how? Other dating shows of this style, there's a lot of sexual relations going on. But on Love Island, it's basically mostly kissing All the challenges usually involve hardcore making out and with multiple people, like back to back to back. Basically, everyone in the villa has kissed each other, not the men on the men, because heteros, but you know, whatever. Like, everyone has to kiss each other all over, like, these challenges and, like, simulate sex acts, but, like, fully clothed. And I know this is so boring, but I'm dying to see, like, what the sexual harassment like section of their contracts are that they sign, because it seems to be an islander. You have to be okay with like being kissed, groped, touched, like anything at any moment. And I'm just like, how do you even draft a contract that like protects all? I mean, reality TV contestants have like no rights, so it's not that surprising, but I'm just kind of like, oh my god, you have to be ready to be like made out with at any time. That's like gross. By anybody, like anyone in a challenge. It doesn't seem like you can just opt out of these things. They don't really have any sexual relations on this show. It's kind of like unspoken too hot to handle rules almost. But like, I feel like on Love Island, they have even less sex than Too Hot to Handle. And the whole point of Too Hot to Handle is to not have sex as much as you can possibly bear. So I do not understand how they're not having more sex on Love Island, because they're all hot and naked and forced to make out at all the challenges and sleep in beds together. They do all sleep in one big room, so that's kind of a deterrent to not have relations, you know, in front of everybody. People are trying to sleep in the room. And then towards the final week, they did give them kind of a boom boom room called the Hideaway, but it was hard to get in. It wasn't like on other shows I've seen where you can just go in whenever you please. It was like you had to be nominated by people, and there was only like 2 different opportunities to go into that Hideaway that they gave them the opportunity to nominate. So I was like, what's the point of having a boom boom room if you can't even use it? I want to launch a formal investigation. Where are all the boners? Because they gotta be somewhere. Maybe they get desensitized to the hot women, but I'm just like, how? I think a lot of them figure stuff out in the shower and even shower together, like couples will shower together. So I assume that could be a place to get away with things. One couple did like have sex kind of low key in the big room and just kept it low key, and people didn't seem to complain about it. But every other villa show I've seen is more sexual, and I think like people, Love Island fans, appreciate that it's not a sex heavy show, but at the same time, like, what? These are adults and they're exploring connections and they're all hot and naked, and I'm like, how is this not happening? And I also wouldn't describe it as wholesome by any means. Like, I wouldn't label Love Island as pornography, but they've read the texts, you know what I mean? It's like make-out porn, I guess. It's softcore. And the challenges are literally just kind of like the smutty part of a spicy novel. Like, the challenges serve little purpose aside from just giving make-out porn. Or, like, there's some really nasty food challenges where they have to, like, transfer food from each other's mouths and stuff like that, and like, that's disgusting. I don't know whose kink that is. I mean, I don't want to shame, but oh my god, I had to fast forward any food challenges because that shit is disgusting, and it serves no purpose to like move the plot forward. They do a lot of like making them like face into food and cake and hot dogs and crazy shit like that. And I hate it. I hate it so much. So that's the physical intimacy. I also picked up on some other Love Island-ism tropes throughout the season that I found interesting and unique to this. Longtime fans, feel free to chime in on any other big tropes of Love Island. So the Islanders all get a smartphone that isn't tied to their personal life or anything, just for the villa. They receive texts from production, and whenever someone gets a text, it means like something's happening in the villa, like a challenge or a recoupling. That's the thing, like every few episodes they like recouple up and try out like a connection. So anytime they get a text on these phones, they have to scream, "I got a text!" And it's cause for a great celebration. I was so confused for the longest time about this. I'm like, why does a simple text warrant celebration and screaming? I don't know, but it's just a Love Island thing. Another thing is breakfast. They seem to cook in the villa. The only thing these hot people eat is, unsurprisingly I guess, eggs and avocado toast. They also have like a thing called toasties, which is like a pressed like panini press something or other, maybe like a grilled cheese thing. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's like a British thing. That is kind of only on special occasions. I think these people are so fit. They literally just eat avocados and eggs. And eggs are basically a form of currency on this show. The guys make it for their girls in the morning or whoever they're interested in. Eggs can be used to like welcome a new bombshell, or if you messed up and want to say sorry to someone. It's all in the eggs. The other thing I picked up on is they only seem to have one insult on Love Island, and that is, he's not a man, he's a boy. Or, I need a woman and she's a girl. I feel like every Islander said this at some point, like as shade to someone, but it seems like they don't know any other insults. Like, that's it. That's the insult. Oh, another trope is like a go-to excuse to get a kiss. Outside the challenge, like if someone has a crush on somebody, they'll go and say like, oh, the challenge kiss didn't count, and that's their excuse to like get a kiss in that moment. A lot of people use this tactic, and it seems to work. They always get a kiss out of it. Okay, and then there's something called Casa Amor. It's known as Casa for short. I'm gonna be referencing this a lot because this season the Casa Amor bit was a very impactful point of the season. So Casa Amor is this mid-season time period of like 4 to 5 days where the boys and the girls are separated into 2 different villas, and in each villa they provide them like 5 new bombshells to explore connections with. And from what I gathered this season, it's a place to test your current connection that you have in the original villa. And to the boys, it seems like testing a connection is code for let's go be physically intimate with new hot women with no consequences. At least this season in particular really turned into the Mojo Dojo Casa Amor house. And while you're in Casa Amor, when it ends, you get to choose if you want to couple up with a new girl or boy from the new batch of people, and everyone gets put into the original villa, and then like a few days later there's like a big elimination. Basically all the boys this season brought back new girls from Casa Amor and left all their original girls like high and dry and vulnerable to be eliminated because they stayed loyal to their boys and didn't like bring in the new boys at all. It got really messy, and it makes sense why Love Island USA was the most streamed show the week that happened. Oh, also in Love Island terms, movie night equals bad. I was confused at first because they were like, we're having movie night, and I was like, yay, we're gonna watch Legally Blonde or something. But no, it's movie night is just the producers showing clips to everybody of shady moments of the season and cause a bunch of fights. Okay, so finally, let me get into discussing this season's specifics. And buckle in, I know this is a long ass video because this shit has 1,000,001 episodes. So I want to go through the main cast and discuss kind of their arc and favorite moments or least favorite moments, whatever. This video might be rambly. It might not cover everything because, like I said, there's literally 30 something episodes, and I'm not able to make it like a beat by beat recap like I sometimes do, but hopefully there's enough context to follow along. And I also probably can't show too much footage of the show because they're all like very much naked, so I don't want to get demonetized. Nakedness not allowed on YouTube as much as it is on Peacock apparently. So with that being said, let's start with our lovely host, Ariana Madix, who has done an incredible job this season. And like I said, I think she was a big part in bringing people initially in, and then the quality of the season and the cast made people stay. First of all, some commotion for Ariana's looks this season. Her outfits and styling has been so amazing, and her body is like insane. I mean, it always has been, but like she looked amazing. I can't even pick a favorite look because they were all so amazing, and she could very much pass for a bombshell and be successful. I hate how hosts have to be so restricted and reserved. She did have moments where she like you could tell she subtly like had the girls' backs, like when she switched like Kaylor and Aaron's positioning in that controversial fire pit moment. But as a host, she has to be so reserved. And I bet her being such a fan of Love Island, it's so weird to like have to hold back all your opinions. Honestly, Ariana's success hosting goes to show that being a fan of the show is the most important thing when getting a gig like this. Like, yeah, some people are great hosts just by themselves, but I think the best hosts are really big fans of their show and what they're doing. Ariana was a very public super fan of Love Island, and she's watched every single episode, and you can tell the passion is there. Like, you can tell the care is there. So let me get into this cast, and I want to go kind of from most dysfunctional to least dysfunctional. And I kind of should start with Kaylor and Aaron if that's the case, but I do want to start with Leah. Leah gives main character energy, so it's only fitting to start with her. And yes, I'm a Leah apologist. Leah haters, click off the video now. Oh, and by the way, I am discussing real people, but it's just a TV show. Especially in this case, they are so in a simulation that I don't even associate these characters in this simulation as like the real people that they're gonna be outside of this show. So Leah. I fell in love with Leah from the moment she came in to Von Dutch by Charlie XCX. That was the song they used to introduce her, and the rest is history. I mean, of course, playing some Charlie is the way to my heart. And also, like, I thought her voice was hilarious from the beginning. I mean, it's so Valley Girl and it's so funny. Like, she has such a very funny cadence, and she's also very funny. Like, her sense of humor is very much there, and that's a big deal for hot people to have a sense of humor, because not all of them do. I don't know if I can even imitate it. You did your big one. She's always talking about it.
You guys did your big one. We're so proud of you. Y'all had a time.
You can't imitate greatness. Like, her voice is everything. And side note, I'm dying to know if she knows any of this Shahs of Sunset cast, because she is Persian and she lives in Calabasas. And I'm just like, you gotta be Reza's niece or something. Like, come on. And she has like the sense of humor. I feel like I've been watching a lot of Shahs of Sunset. That's been my comfort show all summer. And I'm really depressed because I'm getting close to the end. But I want to know if there's any crossovers here, because she must know somebody. If anyone knows, let me know. I feel like with Leah, what makes her so lovable is that she is self-deprecating and she's willing to be vulnerable and show her flaws. And I think that makes a lot of women be able to project onto her. Even if like you don't relate to her flaws. I don't know. There's just something very relatable about her, very real. And you can tell she's genuinely really funny and really cool because she is pulling the hottest guys. It's interesting to see when the playing field is pretty even because everyone's super hot, super fit. Every girl has like fake boobs and BBLs. Every guy has abs and veins popping out their biceps. But it's interesting to see the little things that edge people over others. And I feel like Leah was pulling the hottest guys like right when they would meet because she was funny. Like her Raise Your Heart Rate challenge, which was basically just a lap dance and a costume challenge. She took a comedic route to it where she played a nurse, but she was giving funny but sexy, cheeky one-liners to the boys. It was hilarious, and it was my favorite of all of those. She ate that up, and she also showed her wittiness and her confidence. I think her being able to like make fun of herself or be funny shows that she's really confident. And it was surprising to me seeing some of the other girls who are so beautiful, like unattainably gorgeous. Some of them were just kind of insecure, and that challenge was a good example. Like some of them were very awkward about dancing or seemed shy, and I'm just like, girl, you got the goods. Like, what do you have to be insecure about? And confidence is a journey for anybody, if I've learned anything. Okay, so we could write a dissertation on Leah and Rob. So there's a lot to say here. Leah and Rob was like the first major connection and storyline on the season of Love Island, and the producers didn't want to let it die, even though it died pretty early on. I just think Leah and Rob were kind of a match made in heaven. She mentions when she is introduced, like she's a huge animal lover. She has like a bunch of animals, which I don't even know how she has that much space for so many animals in LA, but she does it somehow. And she even mentions like snakes are really misunderstood in her initial interview. And Rob is a snake wrangler. That's an occupation made for reality TV. And then she also mentions like, I'm like an onion and I have layers. And later in the season, it became kind of a running joke that Rob is an onion and that every girl wants to peel his layers. So the foundation for the Leah Rob shippers is so strong. And we're going to get to talking about Rob and this whole thing in a second. And I want to put a pin in it and talk about Leah's arc post-Rob. Leah's lowest moment was this rant she went on after Rob was like crying to her about having to pick between two bad bitches, basically, which, as you can tell, I'm on Leah's side in this situation. She was calling out how Rob was being all theatrical with his tears, that she got the ick from his crying. They played this clip later in movie night, so everyone got to see it. But it's like, people were saying she was invalidating male vulnerability. And to an extent, yes, but I forgive her just because she was angry and really frustrated because Rob dropped her like a hot potato as soon as like a hot bitch came in and made out with him. And Rob had reassured her that she had nothing to worry about, like less than 24 hours before he was already recoupling with the new girl. Rob was being really sneaky and two-faced, basically, at first telling Leah, you have nothing to worry about. And then this other girl is hot and says everything he wants to hear. And he comes back to Leah and is like, well, we don't really have sexual chemistry. And it's like, we've been feeling the sexual chemistry through the screen, please. And that made Leah feel really shitty. And that set her off on this rant. And like these series of bad moments where Leah seemed like she was out to get Rob or was just like being mean to him. But like, it's totally fine for Rob to cry, even to cry about having a tough decision between two ladies he's interested in. But why is he crying to Leah about having to make this choice? She was one of the people he was trying to choose between. It's never a good feeling to be told like, oh, I'm between you and this other hot girl, like, tell your bros about it, you know, not her. Yes, Leah was talking a lot of shit, but as Serena said, I support women's rights and I support women's wrongs. So after the Rob debacle ended, and especially they had this whole thing where they blamed Leah for sending Andrea home because the girls got to decide who to send home between three girls, and they chose to send home Andrea, which was Rob's new hot girl. Rob did his big one with that one and like said he was leaving, but then he didn't leave. And that rant was so iconic.
Now, you send in 3 home and then you're still here, bitch, in your overalls. Now what?
I feel like the Casa stuff kind of wiped away all that discussion and discourse about who sent home Andrea and if Leah had a big part of the decision or a small part. These fights just came down to semantics and were whatever. But after all this, I feel like Leah got pretty humbled and she stayed pretty low-key after Andrea got dumped. And she even found a really good love connection in Miguel. But the editors made sure the possibility of Leah and Rob always lingered, and we didn't get to see as much as is probably there of Leah and Miguel. And I liked Leah and Miguel by the end. I think he pursued her and she kind of gave him a lot of space, so it felt more like he was initiating, and it was nice to see because a lot of times I feel like the women are the ones like chasing after the men on these shows. I didn't like when Miguel was turned off seeing the scene of her yelling about Rob and his stupid overalls because, first of all, that scene is hilarious and Leah's really funny at like insulting people, and it wasn't that serious. Like, it's a dating show. I don't know, it was just like he took it so serious, but then he got over it, and by the end he seemed really into her, and it was really sweet to see her getting to the point of seeing like, oh my god, I deserve to be treated well. I feel like Miguel it's easy and they're not causing each other stress like her and Rob were. And so it was just sweet to see them like get into a really good groove. I think for them the key was like the casualness of their relationship, because Miguel got to go to the Mojo Dojo Casa and like so is Oates. He was so excited to go. He was like the first running into there to find new hot ladies to hook up with. And he even brought back a girl, Sierra. But as soon as he brought her back, he like totally ignored her, which happened to like basically all the Casa girls. But he did bring her back and then realized he liked Leah. But Leah kind of the whole time played it really cool. And I think she just, her and Miguel were really new when Casa happened, so she wasn't expecting much from him. And the bar being low and her giving him so much space to like explore, I think really helped him come back to her. It was like the if you love something, let it go philosophy, and Miguel came back. Do I think they'll make it as a couple off the island? No. They seem like a very situational, site-specific couple. Like, they don't seem to have that much in common. Miguel is British. I don't know if he lives in the UK or not, but who knows? They don't give me the vibe of, like, a couple that would try really hard to make it work in the real world. And they seem to just be, like, really good company for each other inside the villa. And I think that's still worthwhile. And they did seem to have like really organic growth. So next, let's talk about Rob, which we've already talked some about him quite a bit. Rob with a face that could launch 1,000 fan cams, with a personality that could launch 1,000,000 fanfics because of his jughead ass type of personality. Oh my god, I just realized like the serpents connection. Like basically, if you don't know anything about Rob, he's Jughead, but 20 million times hotter. Serpents and all. Rob is a fascinating islander because he is really boring, but he's dangerous. And let me tell you what, he is like really hot already. He's got all that going for him. But then it's like he's also read the handbook on how to be deep, how to be sensitive. That shit is so dangerous because the girlies eat it up. It's me, I'm girlies, straight up. It became a straight up liability to pair up with Rob because every new hot girl that came in thought she would be the one. She could be the one to understand him, to peel back his onion layers. Because, in case you haven't noticed, he's weird. He doesn't fit in. You want to know why he wears these stupid overalls every day? Yeah, he's weird. I think the only bombshell that gave Rob a run for his money and hotness was Miguel. Like, Miguel could do push-ups at a 45-degree angle, which I did not know was possible, but he could. And Miguel has like a really hot voice too. But Miguel hasn't quite read like the deep and sensitive handbook or studied it as much as Rob. And so once the girls talked to Miguel, he was just kind of like more your average guy, emotional wise, you know? While Rob is just very like, it's hard to describe, but it's like the Jughead kind of hipster thing. The girlies love a deep guy. And he's a snake wrangler. Like, that's some romance novel shit. Like, Rob acts like a man written by a woman. And I don't think it's all like perfectly genuine. I think he just knows what to do, and that's why he's dangerous. Like, I do think he's kind of a player. He is very lusty. The way he just dropped Leah so fast and the way he misled her, like, it seems like he knows how to get women to fall in love with him, but he just dishes it out to every girl. And the girls are left like heartbroken because he moves on to the next. Leah and Rob, the whole season, they were like the Ross and Rachel. The will they, won't they trope down to a T. And I totally understand the shipping. There's a pretty hardcore subsection, I think, of fans that are Leah Rob shippers to the end. Even though Rob wronged Leah, that couple just seemed to have such a strong foundation. Their love for animals and like weird creatures. I think that's a huge foundation because Rob kept trying to test girls, putting bugs on them and shit because he can get away with that apparently. No one had that passion like Leah did. And their humor just like worked so well together from the beginning. Like, that foundation is what like endgame couples are made out of in romance stories. Even their fellow islanders till the end were still trying to like get them together. The islanders themselves were Leah Rob shippers, and Leah told them 1,000,000 times like, I would choose Miguel over Rob if Rob even showed interest in me, which Rob wasn't showing interest in her, but everyone was like, y'all can still make it happen, y'all can still make it happen. Which is weird too, because I feel like the fellow islanders shouldn't be encouraging a couple that would win hands down the money at the end. So like, it's in everyone else's best interest for Leah and Rob to not be together. I think if the islanders are shipping it, a lot of the fans are, it's like just a special romance spark thing. And in a love story sense, Ross and Rachel have to end up together. Even though Ross is toxic, Edward Cullen and Bella have to end up together. Even though Edward Cullen is toxic. Do you see a pattern? In a romance story, it's always first mover's advantage. And if this was a fiction, Rob and Leah would absolutely end up together. And that's why the producers were pushing for it, because it's the best story ending. Like, even though I don't support the couple in real life, I support it in a story sense. In real life, yes, it's more healthy for Leah to end up with Miguel. Yes, it's more healthy for Rob to end up with Cass. It's just interesting when the fiction overpowers. Like, the setup is all there for like the perfect fictional story, but it's real life, so you ultimately can't force it. Unfortunately, like I said, Rob followed his carnal desires and left Leah in the dust when Andrea, a new bombshell, came in. He wasn't very transparent with Leah about wanting to recouple with Andrea, and he ended up leaving Leah high and dry, single, while he went off with Andrea. And then, because there was another recoupling a few days after that, and Andrea, along with 2 other women, Nicole and Jana, and landed in the bottom due to America's vote, and the remaining girls had to decide which girl to send home, and they chose Andrea. And Rob did his big one, and we already talked about that. Cried about it, ran around, said he was leaving, but Andrea, who had kind of been a pick-me the whole time, and just it felt like she was just saying anything Rob wanted to hear. I mean, maybe they just cut out anything with substance they talked about, but from what I saw, she was just agreeing with everything he said, and he was into it. But her being a pick-me kind of bit her in the ass in the end, because she couldn't tell him, like, hey, leave with me, definitely. She had to be like, do whatever you want, but I selfishly would love for you to leave with me, but I can't tell you what to do. And he was like, okay, bet, I'm staying. He pretended like he was gonna leave for a while, but then he stayed. Because once she expresses a need, she would no longer be cool to him. So she couldn't be like, leave with me, Rob. And I thought the Rob and Andrea relationship was bullshit, though Rob did really check out after this. I swear, when Andrea was eliminated, they legit acted like they sentenced her to the guillotine. Like, that, it was another moment that reminded me of Severance, because you know in Severance, like, when someone retires, it's basically like that soul dying, even though the person doesn't die. You know, if you know, you know. But it was kind of like that. It was like, damn, Andrea's life in this simulation is over, and they're acting like it's her funeral. Like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, him not leaving proved he is theatrical, like Leah said. And later on, when they brought in Daniela, I thought they were kind of trying to give him Andrea 2.0, because she was another gorgeous Latina from Florida, and also very, like, people-pleasy, pick-me, always agreeing with him. But Rob was so checked out with Daniela. Like, that scene where she's in the confessional saying, like, I just love how Rob is such a good listener, and cut to her and Rob talking, and Rob fully dissociating, and her just yapping away. Like, that scene sent me right into orbit. Poor Daniela. She was one of the ones that seemed really insecure in the villa, and I'm just shocked, because whenever I see, like, such a gorgeous, hot person be insecure, I'm just like, wow, this really has nothing to do with looks, does it? I did like that somehow in a few days he grew a little bit emotionally and was able to cut things off with Daniela when he started feeling like he wasn't that into her. Even though she said, like, on a podcast, he was being a lot more romantic than we were seeing. At least he did communicate, and he even expressed that he wished this is how he had approached Leah when he wasn't feeling the connection with her anymore. And that's what Leah was so mad about. It was just like the two-facedness of him reassuring her, and then next day he's dropping her for some other bitch. So at least it was good to see Rob not break the heart of Daniela as hard as Leah. Now let's talk about Rob's deepest love connection in the villa, Aaron. After Andrea was dumped, he really just stayed for Aaron, who begged him to stay, to be his best friend. But it's no wonder Rob has no energy for his own girls, because he's too busy puppeteering Aaron's relationship with Kaylor the whole time. He literally was behind, like, anything good Aaron did for his relationship. And also he was, like, basically coupling up with girls to save them for Aaron, because Daniela had actually been a connection Aaron had first, and he literally like coupled up with her to like save her as a backup in case he changed his mind. That's what it felt like. And then in the final few days, they brought in Cass, who apparently was on our previous season. Rob was also on last season, I forgot to mention that, as a casa guy, but he didn't make it into the villa, which it's kind of like very hit or miss if a casa person makes it into the villa. Cass was like a connection he might have explored at that time, and they brought her back from last season basically just to save him for another few days because I think he's good for ratings. His relationship with Cass was actually surprising because he did light up quite a bit again. She has a really funny energy, almost like a smidge of JoJo Siwa. Like something about her voice gave like a tiny bit of that, but it wasn't in a bad way. And she was really funny, and at first I was like so annoyed she came in because I was like, I'm so tired of new people, like no new friends. I love my cast right now, but I liked Cass a lot right away, and the cast really liked her, and so I was glad in the end they brought her. And she woke up Rob a little bit, and he was into her, not like in a serious love connection way, but I think she approached their relationship with a lot of casualness. They actually were the ones that had sex in the big room with everybody, just kind of low-key secretly. And they didn't really tell anybody. She was just like, yeah, I'm just a horn dog and it doesn't mean anything to me. And I think that was like the exact thing Rob needed, because I think he's kind of a horn dog and he's probably tired of like all the girls falling for his weird, deep, whatever thing he puts on, his onion. And Cass was very like casual about approaching a relationship with him. So they were cute, and I think if we had had more time with them, it could have been interesting to see how it played out, but we didn't. We only had a couple days. And much respect to Cass for being in a bed with a hot guy for a night and being like, I'm not missing the opportunity to get laid right now. We did get at least that final closure conversation between Rob and Leah, which is I think all producers could force them to do. The Love Island franchise is pretty big, and people are saying like maybe they'll bring him on Love Island games and try to rekindle something. So we'll see how their love lives play out after this, but both of them don't give me the energy of like wanting to settle down necessarily, especially Rob. I mean, I don't know about Leah. If they were smart or just like are down for the money and playing things up, they could really do a big one and make some money, like doing appearances together or like going on these shows together specifically. Maybe to be continued, maybe not. Okay, next let's talk about some other people. It won't be as long. Rob and Leah required a dissertation, but now let's move on to Nicole. Nicole was a new bombshell, kind of introduced early-ish on, and she made it to the finale. She very much looks like a yassified Miranda Cosgrove, and she seems really sweet, really nice. I don't know much to say about her. The other girls seem to like her a lot, and she was in a very solid couple with Kendall, but she was pretty boring. I don't have much to say about her. And then Kendall was who she ended up paired with. I mean, it's interesting though, Nicole was someone a lot of men pursued. When they would walk in, they would always try to talk to her, but she stayed really faithful to Kendall. And Nicole and Kendall had their strongest moment right after Casa, because Kendall was the only guy who didn't totally misbehave and cheat on her at Casa, basically. Everything after Casa, they were looking like the most solid couple. But Kendall, I'm so sorry, I find him so cringe. Like, I can tell he used to be a big nerd. And I'm a nerd, I can say that. He's like the boys' #1 hype man all the time. Like, that's kind of the role he plays in the bro group. And he did encourage like all of them to misbehave at Casa Amor, even though he didn't misbehave himself, which I thought was very shady, especially because he had very strong friendships with the original girls as well as the guys. I think he values the bros before hoes proverb. And I kind of like that Nicole did call him out on it, because the girls saw footage from Casa, and Nicole was mad that Kendall was egging Stefan and kind of disregarding the original girls back home. He came in and made them all breakfast to say sorry for that, but it still very much rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't love Kendall. The grunting in the Raise Your Heart Rate stripping challenge, this man does not know what women like. Him and Nicole were solid and boring. that's it. It goes to show it's not about the strongest love connection. It's all about the best story, which is a no-brainer, but at the same time, it's like, it's all about story and an arc. And Nicole and Kendall didn't really have that. There's one point where they said, we've been tested the most in here. It's like, no, you haven't. You've been tested the least. It's just like every guy likes Nicole when they walk in, but then she's like, no, I'm with Kendall, and they leave her alone. They did get a family call, and we saw Kendall's sister, and I wouldn't be surprised if she pops up on a future season of Love Island, if she's willing, because she was stunning. Next, I want to talk about Livy Eilish. She's basically like a hyper femme Billie Eilish Australian bombshell. And Liv never really found a good love connection. I think she was coupled up with so many randos through the whole season, but she was integral to like making the season great and being like a fierce friend to the women. She stood up for them when they couldn't stand up for themselves. Like at that fire pit after Casa, she was single at the time, so she didn't have like a guy that did her dirty during that time, but she had a lot of friends whose guys did them dirty, and she was the one like comforting all the girls while they were worried about what the guys were doing, especially Kaylor, who was crying the entire time the boys were at Casa Amor. And sometimes she would fight with the girls too, but then they would make up. It was very sisterly, and she was just very wise and telling like Aaron he didn't deserve Kaylor at that fire pit. It was just fierce. And the reactions when she got dumped were very telling of how important she was to the female friendships. She was best supporting actress of this season. And it's weird because she's super young, but she was very much a big sister to all of these girls. And I felt the pain through the TV of when she got eliminated. The girls were devastated. And I was devastated too because it was so sweet. And the friendships of the girls were like everything this season. And I think the main thing that everyone says is like key to why they loved the season. I also loved how Katie Maloney, who made a guest appearance on After Sun to commentate on the season, she got to meet Liv and tell her like she related and kind of give her advice about like, you know, sometimes you want to fight for people really hard, but they have to figure stuff out themselves. And I just thought it was so cute. So next let's talk about Kaylor and Aaron, which we've already touched on a bit, but here's another doozy of a couple. Kaylor, our little hopeless lover girl, my God. She cried so many tears.
Fuck, Aaron.
At the beginning of her intro, she does say she's into douchey, TikTok famous type of guys. And with that, it makes total sense why she went for Aaron. She coupled up with Aaron from day one, and it was pretty much over from the first kiss. Like, she was into him. She tried to like talk to other guys, but she was always like, he's not Aaron. She kind of became a meme queen too, with all the crying and her saying fuck about Aaron all the time. I want to talk about this couple basically as a unit because they were together since day one, and were together till they got eliminated. But Aaron is basically like a buff James Kennedy. He's kind of like a serial reality TV guy. He was on A Trader season in the UK and some other dating shows here and there. And he works on yachts. So basically picture James Kennedy, but if he was on Below Deck and buff. He looks like a douche from a mile away. He looks like the bully of a British boarding school down. It was crazy. Like the way Aaron treated Rob all season, his best bro, was exactly how he should have been treating Kaylor, who was the woman he came to love by the end, and they became official boyfriend and girlfriend by the end of the season. Aaron was over here getting so angry on behalf of Rob when Andrea got sent home, or getting pissed at Leah for Rob at movie night. He never matched the energy he gave Rob to Kaylor. Having a best bro is okay. I mean, I loved the female friendships on this season, but the Aaron and Rob thing was just so convoluted because like they were passing the same girls to each other, Andrea and Daniela, and Rob was kind of like just telling him what to do with Kaylor all the time. Kaylor and Aaron's huge test came from the Casa Amor time period, and that's because Aaron very much misbehaved at Casa and was super flirty with Daniela, who ended up coupled up with Rob. Like, Rob brought her back from Casa and Aaron came home alone. Basically, Aaron was very flirty with her, trying to speak Spanish to her, which I did appreciate. Aaron spoke Spanish. It's so weird to me to hear British people speak Spanish because they speak Spanish, and he was really good at Spanish. I'll give it to him. That was kind of fierce that he could speak it so fluently. He was like talking to Daniela in Spanish and flirting with her and kissing her outside of challenges as well as inside challenges. He did the same secret handshake he had with Kaylor with Daniela, and that was like shady. I mean, I know the kissing is shady, but the secret handshake too. He also asked Daniela to shower with him, which she didn't do, or they were like JK or something, but he always showers with Kaylor. So these were all revelations that happened throughout the period after Casa. But during Casa, basically, Kaylor was back home crying the whole time, sleeping outside, getting bit by mosquitoes. It's just so sad to see this play out because Kaylor, you know, Kaylor is like a girl I think we've all known who goes through a breakup with her toxic boyfriend. You do this whole, woohoo, you're broken up, like, good riddance, blah, blah, blah. And then next week, she's back together with him. It was just very that and toxic. And Aaron was comfortably sleeping in the bed with Daniela and cuddling indoors without the mosquitoes while Kaylor was back home just crying. Kaylor's eyes were literally bulging out of her head. So during Casa, the producers sent the girls videos of the guys that were making out with other girls back at Casa. I don't know if that's like a staple of Love Island or what, but that shit was sadist cruelty on par with the Hunger Games game makers. Like, what the actual fuck? Kaylor's already crying because she knows Aaron's a slut and is probably doing something bad. Then she sees a video that proves it. It's so fucked up. After that, she was a mess. Like, the girl was broken. And so the fire pit after Casa was like the most dramatic moment of the season. It was a bloodbath. And Aaron did come home alone. And I think that initially made Kaylor like happy, even though she chose to remain single instead of like accepting Aaron back right away, because she did think he was gonna come back with a new girl. Basically, he misbehaved off Casa, and then final day is like, oh, I miss Kaylor, or I have something going with Kaylor, so I'm gonna just pursue that. I had fun while it lasted, but I'll go back to my original girl. She'll take me back, no problem. And he's right. And so he did come back single, and literally at first Kaylor was like mad at him about what she saw in the video, and he was just like, it's taken out of context and whatever. But literally in the conversations after, where Kaylor tells him like, I was sad this whole time, blah blah blah, Kaylor starts already giggling and kicking her feet at him, and like she's so like, I can't stay mad at you and shit. And I was just like, oh, Kaylor, please. It was sad to witness, truly. Their relationship is literally nothing to me because, like I said, Rob is puppeteering Aaron of any of the nice things he's done. Like when he asked Kaylor to be his girlfriend, Rob put together the whole dinner and helped them. And also Rob came in half naked for some reason as part of them becoming official. It's literally Kaylor is a third wheel with Rob and Aaron. And then Aaron just kept being pissed that anytime any Casa stuff was mentioned, he's like, I thought we moved past it. I thought we squashed it. I thought blah, blah, blah. What's it gonna take to get over this? Like, he was just complaining. And anytime Kaylor would start, like, saying her feelings or, like, getting into it, he would be, like, dissociated. Straight up zoned out. And just like, what's it gonna take to get over this? Ick, ick, ick. I hated Aaron so much. I was glad because in the final week, they ended up in the bottom. And this was the America vote. And they ended up in the bottom with 2 other nothing couples. And they were shocked because they were like day 1 couple. And they were like, I thought America would love us. Kaylor started crying, started being very weepy again after that because she realized like America doesn't like us. And she was kind of thinking like, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? It was really a big wake-up call to her starting to suspect like she's being delulu about Aaron. My theory is that her constantly crying and being so upset, her saying like, oh no, America thinks I'm a dumb bitch for forgiving Aaron. You said it, not us, girl. Like, you know. That's your gut instinct at work. She knows he's up to no good. She knows it's an unhealthy relationship. She knows it'll never work in the real world. And she expresses these concerns like a lot, and she's crying about them. It's because her gut is telling her. That's it. Should be a lesson to anyone watching. Like, listen to your gut, especially when dealing with fuckboys like Aaron. And even Liv, now outside the villa, has kind of very diplomatically said Aaron is not right for Kaylor. And Liv is like Kaylor's best friend from the villa. Even Kaylor's mom was on Facebook saying Aaron's not right for her and he's toxic, and like feeling bad for Kaylor. It's just so sad. I mean, at least Kaylor does. I'm glad she has people in her life that seem to be seeing through what Kaylor's not seeing. But I think Kaylor suspects it too, and that's why she's so upset all the time. She's just not willing to admit it to herself yet. I don't think they'll ever work in the real world. I think he'll be busy trying to hang out with Rob and make that best friendship work, and forget about Kaylor. I was so glad in the pre-finale episode they got the boot. America saw through it, and the other couples were so much better. Good fucking riddance. And Aaron was so much happier about leaving with Rob than leaving with Kaylor. He kept saying to Rob, like, I want you to meet my family. I'm so glad we entered together. We're leaving together. All this shit. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, you should be saying all this to her. But no. Okay, next is Jana. Oh my god, Jana. We're starting to get into the couples I like. Okay. And I like Leah and Michelle. Sorry, I mean, and I like Leah and Miguel, but they were earlier for plot reasons. Jana is so lovable. I'm obsessed with her. She almost kind of has like Kelly Kapoor energy. She's like a little bit ditzy and like super whimsical. She has this infectious energy, and she literally, I feel like, looks like a Bratz doll come to life. Like, if they ever did a live action Bratz movie, I don't know if this girl can act, but cast her as a Bratz doll because she's just so gorgeous. And Janae has provided some of my very favorite moments. There was one point where she was talking about like how she was so insecure that Leah was bonding with her man Connor, which, remember Connor? I don't. She was so upset Leah was bonding with him about plants, and she's like, I don't know anything about plants, and she's just like feeling so hopeless, talking, like giving this rant about plants, and it's so funny.
Ready to go fucking study fucking plants? No. Because I will go study some stupid ass fucking plants. No. But I like plants, they're not stupid, you know? I'm just like...
She's just so unintentionally funny, but like in the sweetest way, not in a way you're laughing at her. It's just like, she just has this pure energy. It's so hard to explain, but she's so amazing. And honestly, Janae had the first moment this season that made me lean in and start watching the show and be like, oh. Her first relationship was actually kind of strong, and it was with Coy, who was this really, really tall guy that all the girls wanted, and he picked Janae to couple up with first. And that relationship was like so weird because he was really hard to communicate with, and he was low-key really hypocritical about like someone's body count. He had a body count like that was like 150, but he thought the acceptable body count for a woman was 10. That is some sexist shit, and that gave me the ick for him right from that moment. And then afterwards, he was just treating Janae like he didn't give a fuck about her. Janae, as like ditzy and airheady as she is a lot of the time, like, she's an amazing communicator. She communicated really clearly to Coy that she was struggling. She was always initiating conversation with him, and he wasn't like putting in any effort, and he was just kind of like, whatever. So at the next coupling, she had the choice between him and a new guy, Connor, who she had okay conversations with, and she kind of made it seem like she was going to pick Coy, even though he'd been treating her kind of shitty. I was just thinking like, oh, of course, these Love Island girls are going to put up with shitty men just because of traditional values and stuff. But Janae surprised me, and she picked Connor and sent Coy packing. And I was like, yes, queen. And that's when I was interested, and I was like, oh, a villa show can be gaggy. And I'm into it. Janae actually had a close call with being dumped in that elimination where Andrea got sent home, because the girls that were picking who to send home were very close with Janae and thought she had had kind of an unfair journey and hadn't found a good connection and thought she deserved one. That's why they picked to save her, but all the boys kind of wanted Janae sent home because she had a lot of time in the villa to find a connection and she hadn't found one. But the girls had her back and we're so happy for it because a couple of days later, a new bombshell came in and she got into a really sweet relationship with Kenny. It's funny because in her intro, she said she wanted like an introverted and obedient guy. And I think that's what she got in Kenny, like really exactly. At first, I didn't like Kenny very much. I don't think he has a personality that reads well on TV, on camera, because he is a little bit introverted. But as the season went on towards the end, he showed more of his goofy side and I really liked them as a couple. He, like many of the other boys, messed up at Casa as well and brought back a girl, which was so random because he wasn't like chomping at the bit like the other guys and like making out with girls right away. He kind of had a slow burn, and the girl he brought back, I'm like, what connection did y'all even have? But he had only been with Janae like 2 days, and then he was at Casa for 4 days, so he got to know this girl for 4 days. I genuinely think he just thought like Janae might have found a better guy with her Casa boys, her Casa batch of boys. I just think Kenny just has nothing but air between the ears and was like, you know what, I think Janae might have found someone. I don't know if she was that into me. I don't know if our connection, if she was serious. I don't know. I just think he like kind of didn't think. And Janae was so hurt after and it was so sad. I think that was a big wake up call for him of like, oh, she's really into me, like actually. And after that, he just kind of like doubled down and committed to her, it felt like. I just want for the best for Janae, and I think Kenny is a great guy. He seems to roll with the punches of her always being very jokey about like, we're getting married and blah, blah, blah. Because she's like very silly, goofy like that. And he's goofy too. It just like took a while to like see that. I do think he's a little young, and maybe I just am old now and feel like these people are all younger than me and it's weird. But I hope they work out. Like, I want the best. Janae is such a queen and deserves to be treated like a queen. And I think Kenny could do that if he doubles down. I mean, I appreciate his vibe so far, and I'm glad they made it to the finale. I was worried because they were a little bit of a newer couple, but Janae's star power, I think, held through. She even mentioned at the very end, like, my back is tired. I think of carrying the couple, like, popularity, because she's right. I think Janae's confidence is everything. I love how she stood up for herself with Coy. Like, that really made me realize, like, oh, this girl is actually confident and has hella self-worth. She is doing kind of the healthiest choices when it got hard. And like she said, she took a lot of L's this season, and I'm so glad she found a stable guy. It's so cute. It's adorable. Now let's get to the best couple of this season, and that is Serena and Kordell. I mean, unsurprisingly, I'm obsessed with Serena and Kordell. I mean, I saved the best for last, for sure. Serena literally entered to Chapel Roan. It was fierce. And she was dressed in brat green. And she matched with Kordell. They were both dressed in brat green. Honestly, Serena's outfits were often giving brat. And I was like, work. She doesn't even know what brat is, but she's brat. She's brat all the way. Serena's from Houston. Texas represent. Love that. Finally, some Texas representation that I can get behind. And Serena's just like the ultimately relatable Islander. Like, something about her energy. She's like always smiling. She's very honest and real. And it makes you feel like you're her best friend through the screen. I think she also had that effect on the Islanders. She had really close friendships with a lot of them. I was just obsessed with her. She's just so real. I also think it's cool. I forget she like works in kids entertainment. I think that's really cool, a cool job and interesting. I would love to hear more about it. She from the beginning said she is a slow burner, and she told Kordell that, and she kind of ended up paired with him by default a little bit. There was this narrative at first of like Kordell was always into her, but Serena was into Coy first and then got paired up with Kordell and was kind of not feeling him. And at first I was literally like, this girl hates this guy. Like, she's not into him at all. And she's just stringing him along. But their story got so, intricate. Like, Emily Henry's taking notes for her next Friends to Lovers plotline in her book. And as far as Kordell, he is a short king, which height is everything in the Love Island villa. It's kind of how the men have hierarchy. I feel like poor Kordell was like the runt of the family, and all the guys kind of treated him like a little bro. But apparently Kordell has a famous brother, Odell Beckham Jr. I had to ask Cameron who that was. He didn't really know, but I think he did date Kim Kardashian recently, which is wild. I rewatched the beginning, and Kordell mentions he has an orange cat at home. From the beginning, I really loved Kordell as well. Like, I love Serena so much. I love Kordell so much as individuals, because men who love cats is a major green flag, and it's an orange cat at that, which is adorable. Also, in that body count challenge, he said the appropriate body count for a woman is infinity, meaning he doesn't care. I just really like Kordell's vibe. It feels like he sees women as human beings. That's not as common on these shows, sadly. He was just so into Serena, and from the beginning their banter was so funny. Like, they got along like best friends. I mean, it was a little rocky because Kordell, I feel like he's a little awkward under pressure or something. He gets nervous, especially because he was so into Serena, and Serena was just very whatever. She was like, what are your long-term goals? And he was like, oh, like acting, modeling, maybe getting sponsorships like Cheez-Its. And Serena was just like, what the fuck? So they kind of had a rocky start, but it was such a slow burn. Like, it was so consistent. And up until right before Casa, I was eating this couple up because they really did go from friends to lovers in this perfect, fictionally perfect way. And it was sad because Serena kept pulling back, and she mentioned she's like a cat, and now I'm realizing, oh, Kordell had a cat, so he knows how cats are. Oh my god. They're so cute. Serena and Kordell were everything, and they just get along like how I see real life couples get along, make jokes and banter, and I don't know, it was just this lightness that felt more realistic than the melodrama of some of the other couples, or the couples that are just everything's perfect, you're the best, and we're gonna be so good in that real, more robotic, and saying the Bachelor stock dialogue instead of just being real and funny with each other. And then their big test came at Casa, like all the other couples basically, and theirs was complicated because Kordell met someone at Casa Amor who was very interested in him and heavily pursuing him. It was a bit different than the Kaylor and Aaron situation because Serena had been a little bit hot and cold throughout their journey. She had kind of sent mixed signals, in the dance floor thing. Kordell was down to keep going, but Serena stepped off the dance floor, meaning she wanted to explore other things. It kind of felt like she was putting Kordell on the back burner in case a better guy showed up for a while. In hindsight, it's more like she was slow burning, but it's hard to see that until you see the burn at the end. There was one point where Serena straight up friend zoned Kordell, but then slowly he kind of worked his way back in, and right before Casa they were starting to get romantic, and in the bed they finally kissed. They took forever to kiss or touch or anything, but then in Casa, Miss Dea Adebri over here showed a lot of interest in Kordell, and they were very physically affectionate with each other. I didn't see the resemblance as strong as some of the others, but occasionally Dea would be there and I was like, yes, chef. At certain angles, I feel like she was giving Io Adebri. Anyway, Kordell was being very physically affectionate with her, and Serena was surprisingly back home crying because she realized what she had with Kordell. It was kind of like she didn't know what she had until he was gone, and she missed him, and she was even surprised by how much she missed Kordell. She was kind of in Kaylor's boat, but less dramatic, and missing him while Kordell was at Casa, making out with Dea. And same thing with Kaylor. Production cruelly sent Serena a video of Kordell making out with Dea. Serena took a different approach than Kaylor, and she was pissed. I mean, she was very, very hurt, but she seemed more jaded and cynical about these things, and was more saying I was right to be careful with this guy because he's a shady snake. And Serena's confrontation at the fire pit was iconic because Kordell did come back with Daya. Aaron came back alone, so at least at the fire pit that tempered things, but Kordell brought back the girl. And Serena had to see that in front of her own eyes, show that she was loyal to him. She also slept outside the whole time, which they could have slept inside. I don't get that part. She tore him a new one, gave him the middle finger, was like, I saw you dry humping in the video. It was so funny, but like so sad, but so it was everything. Perfect reality TV. It took a long time for Serena to forgive Kordell because Kordell had Daya there. Like, he kept trying to talk to Serena and she wouldn't even talk to him. He tried to bring her breakfast and she shoved it on him, which I was devastated by. I hate to see good food wasted under any circumstance, but it was pretty hilarious when he was like eating avocado toast off his abs. That's like pure comedy. There was just this awkward period where Daya was in the villa, but Kordell came back and basically ignored Daya at that point and realized he hurt Serena and that he wanted to be with Serena. It was just so dumb. Like, all these boys came back with new girls and then we're like, actually, I like my original one better. It's just goes to show, like, men are so fickle. Like, they just want what's in front of them. I don't know. And Serena did eventually warm up to Kordell. I mean, he kept trying with her, and at the next opportunity, he recoupled with her. And Serena had this moment of, like, she, like, chased him around the villa, yelling at him. She, like, got all the anger and frustration out. And it felt like after that, things got better. Poor Daya just had to watch all of this go down and be ignored by Kordell. It kind of goes to show their connection wasn't that strong. Maybe it was just physical. Maybe it was just that Kordell hadn't gotten this like unwavering attention from Serena and was like just mesmerized that a girl was like really into him. But yeah, definitely felt bad for the Casa girls, which sometimes the new bombshells towards the later half of the season, I feel like they're just made to be like antagonists or side characters, and the OG people are meant to be the main characters that we care about. So we don't get to care about the Casa people that much because they don't show them that way in multifaceted ways. They're more like a tool or a plot device to make things happen for the original main characters. It took me longer to forgive Kordell because, I don't know, I was like, Serena, why are you taking him back? I thought you were done with him for good, because she said a lot like, I'm done with him for good. Like, if you think he's gonna come back in here and get me back, like, there's no way. But once they had that scene where she was doing his hair again, and it was just a really tender, like, kind of mundane but sweet scene, and it's definitely a standout of the season. I warmed back up to them, and Kordell was just so serious about Serena and like so focused on her and so good to her. I eventually did forgive him, but it took me a minute, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm sus. No one hurts my Serena and gets away with it. Kordell did take it like a champ, though. He just was sorry over and over until she got all her anger out. And they did have this talk finally where they talked about kind of starting over, because she had given him these mixed signals, and that's something I forget because I love Serena so much. I don't want to think about what she's done wrong to Kordell, but like, she did kind of have him on the back burner a lot, and I don't know, I just feel like it would be fair for him to think like, oh, if a new guy shows up to Casa while with the girls, she might explore that. So he might have felt free to explore as well, but he realized the error of his ways. And she realized the error of her ways as well. They both were very unwavering after like kind of starting on a clean slate. And by the end, they're my pick to win the season. Of course, I mean, like, their love story went through so many ups and downs. It was very like romance novel trilogy what they went through, and I think it's perfect. Like, it worked out the way Rob and Leah didn't work out in like a fictional perfect story sense. Serena and Kordell did. So I think that's why they're the best, and they should win. They deserve to win. And might I say, I even have hope for them in the outside world. I never would have thought. With a villa show, I would have hope. They're both from Texas, so I feel like it's not too crazy geographically. They seem to like just vibe really well. I don't know, they seem realistic, and I feel like that would translate to the real world well. And I like that when they did their family calls with Serena's family, it was like her siblings. They were like, we don't know if we approve till we meet him in the real world. And honestly, that's what I would say too if a family member was there, because you don't know from TV who like means it and who's just there for the TV, you know. And I love that Serena's sister shouted out Leah and Jana as her sisters in the villa, because that's just adorable. They, I think, named themselves the Powerpuff Girls. Powerpuff Girls gang, rise up. I'm obsessed with this friendship trio, and there are a lot of great friendships this season. I think even ones we haven't been shown too much, but this trio is so amazing. I'm so glad they're in the finale together. The emotion. And when Serena told the other two about what her sister said, they all started crying. Like, that bond runs so deep. And I'm obsessed with them. And the female friendships, hands down, the best part of this season. I mean, there's a lot of the male friendships too, and a lot of friendship all around, honestly. I think it's just a really good cast with really good chemistry and storylines that are almost as good as fiction, which is what reality TV strives to be. I mean, I can't imagine the trauma bond it is to be in a simulation like this. Oh, I guess I can touch on some random people in the cast that, because I didn't mention everyone that's been on the season, because people come and go a lot. Like, originally there was a girl named Hannah who was really sweet and fun and kind of relatable, but she didn't have much of a storyline. There was a girl named Cassidy who came in with the weirdest energy. She was like in PR, and she was like, I'm gonna steal your man. And then she didn't do shit, and then she left, and she gets the award for making the least mark on the season. There was also another couple that was there kind of close to the finale, and that was Sierra and Harrison. Sierra was someone from Casa, and Harrison was a guy from last season they brought in. And I feel like I was being gaslit into thinking this man was hot, because he just looks sleazy to me. This is not my type of guy. All the girls were like, oh my god, he's so hot, and all the guys were so threatened. Maybe he's just really masculine and tall, and that's what matters in this simulation, but whatever. He partnered up with Sierra, but it was such a random coupling, and Sierra was a Casa girl, so I liked her, and she had aspirations to be a DJ, or is a DJ, or rising DJ, something. Like I said, the Casa girls, we don't really get to know them that well. Like, the edit doesn't make you fall in love with them. It doesn't show you like all their humanity. So that's the Love Island season 6. All my thoughts. Right now, as I'm recording this, I just have the finale left to go, and I'm excited. If Serena and Kordell won, all's right in the universe. If Jana and Kenny won, I'll accept it. If anyone else won, I'm pissed. So let me know what you thought of Love Island USA. This was a marathon of a video, but it's a long, long season, and a lot happened, and a lot of people came and went, and there was just a lot to say. So hope you enjoyed the supersize video. What do you think of Villa shows? Are you a longtime Love Island fan? Are you new to the franchise? Have you not seen any of it? Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Who were your favorite relationships, favorite cast members, favorite moments from the season? I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos whenever I feel like it about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.